What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fitness for You podcast. In the studio today, I have special guest, the hopeful therapist, Michael Baun. He is a former Division I rugby player and a former veteran, and he is a mental health therapist. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you sending me the invite, and I'm so excited to be here.
You're welcome. How did I nail that intro?
That was a great intro. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, oh, is it recording or is this a test?
No, this is a recording.
Oh, shoot, man. I messed it up already. Dude, my bad.
That's okay.
When you asked me about the intro, I was like, former veteran. I'm currently a veteran, you know?
Oh,
That's why I was like, whoa.
So
is this a
I
practice
messed up.
Yeah. No, and that, I could have just let it slide and we would get going.
Former veteran.
That's why I was like, former.
What is wrong with me? Why? Why do people let me have a podcast? Why are we doing this? Oh man. So I'm just gonna leave that on the record because you gotta learn from your mistake. Former veteran. I'm an idiot. Oh man. Anyway, lovely to have you on the show. Seriously, it's very, very good. So let me ask you a question. So I've seen you in the gym, you work out, and we got to talking about a lot of things. And you have a lot to say about mental health and psychology. You have a lot to say about, physical fitness and really just connecting the two dots together. I know your story. My audience doesn't know your story. Tell me something about you. Where does Michael Baun start?
Yeah, so where do I start? So I start from a family of immigrants from the Philippines that moved to San Francisco, California, and there I was born. And where do immigrant families live when you first move to another country? The hood.
The hood. There we go.
So I grew up in a really rough area, and I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers, and a lot of people don't know, but Filipino culture, while we're all really nice and loving and we care so much for others, we really don't talk a lot about mental health. We push that in the side, and we're always pretending to be happy even though we have all these issues happening.
Right.
And that kind of compiles with living in a rough neighborhood. So the neighborhood I came from is Lakeview, and it had one of the highest homicide rates in San Francisco and just a lot of carjackings. I mean, it's known for that, Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had to be tough, I'm this Filipino kid that, needed to be strong, especially for my brothers.
Right.
And that kind of propelled me into thinking more about mental health just at a younger stage. So I go on to high school. I get into sports because, I don't want to get bullied. I don't want to get mugged when I'm taking the bus. Mm-hmm. So I start playing football.
Right.
Dude, people don't really know, but when I was playing football, I won Defensive Player of the Year.
Really?
Yeah. In whole of San Francisco, this is thousands of kids, know? But I didn't pursue it because I saw this movie called Concussion.
Yeah.
And CT is no joke.
Right.
And my mother always wanted me to get an education, so sports was never my priority. Mm-hmm. And I went to a community college for a couple years, wanted to transfer to a 4-year university, but had no money.
Right.
So then I had to join the military so that they could pay for my school.
Right.
And the field I got into, I joined the Air Force, and I was a aircraft mechanic. I specialize in electrical and environmental systems. That's a hard job. I'm not an infantryman. I'm not doing any of the cool stuff.
Yeah.
But we have some of the highest suicide rates in all the branches. If you combine all the maintenance branches, we're a third of suicides.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, there's slave drivers. The flight line is a 24-hour operation.
Really?
So you were working just a normal job with really low pay, trying to support a family. Some people, not me, with $400 to $600 the first and 15th of every month, working 50 to 60 hours, and sometimes not having weekends.
What?
Yeah.
So what's the main? First off, I just got to say, Defensive Player of the Year in San Francisco. Holy cow, that's a huge accomplishment.
It is, yeah, big city. I was super proud of it. I mean, I just thankful for great coaching and friends.
Right, that's awesome, and I think you would agree, a good coach is always good to have in your life. You know, so this is crazy. So you go to San Francisco, you become defensive player in the year, and you realize you can't afford school. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the military. I'm gonna go to the Air Force. I'm gonna get this done, right? You're not a former veteran, all right? We're gonna establish
current
that.
veteran.
Current veteran.
Did my time. Now I'm a veteran.
Michael Baun, current veteran. Gosh, I can't believe I said that. But anyway, so it's this. You're in this environment, and it's like this slave driving environment. Why is it like that?
You know, I think it's just like probably just started from the old culture, you know? Like we just need this plane out in the air. We call them sorties, and there's just a lot of pressure, I guess, from our military to like get a lot of practice and trainings, you know, so that way we do a lot of airstrikes. People don't know this, but the U.S. military loves dropping bombs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We drop them all the time. So it's like we need to be prepared for that. And so part of it is just like I don't want to say necessity, but I guess like they just think we're just like another tool.
Right.
And obviously the military members, all our service members, they can feel that we're not even a human. We're government property.
Let me ask you this question. So you're in the trenches, so to speak, right? How old are you at the time?
At the time, I was 19 when I first joined.
Wow.
Yeah, not even 21.
Holy cow. So you're 19 years old. When you're in this job, what were some of the thoughts that were going through your head? Like where was your head at?
Yeah, my head was just going through it, you know? Like a lot of people, they had this burning passion to serve their country.
Yeah.
I didn't really have that. Like my goal was like, I just want a college degree. I can't believe I got to go through all this pressure, these people like yelling at me, demeaning me, like just so I can fix this plane for 14 hours in a day, and then I'm just so exhausted, like I don't even want to do anything.
Right. Wow. So do you feel like it, in a sense, gave you this shield of strength in your mental capacity to handle things?
For sure. When you can deal with high stress and you know what it means to work so much and so hard for a goal, you know, you had to build resilience. You had no choice. And if you didn't, you were, I hate to be the guy, one of the, you know, the statistics in suicide. There's a lot of veteran and service member suicides. And for me, I didn't want to fall to that. So I did a lot of physical fitness to kind of offset a lot of the trauma, the stresses, and the bad experiences, you know, that were happening to me.
Wow. Okay. So now you're in the military. You go through this experience. What happens next?
So what happens next for me is, while I'm going through the experience, just kind of give a little context, is like, you know, I had close friends fall off. I had a great supervisor I loved who passed away, you know, from suicide, unfortunately. And that kind of propelled me towards this mental health route. So then I get out, and then I want to go and get my degree. So I go to North Carolina State, and I get a degree in sociology. There's no really mental health degree. I probably should have got a psychology degree. Yeah. But I wanted to know more about society as a whole and how that affects the person first.
Right. Wow. Okay, so that's really interesting. How it affects the person and how it... Now, do you feel like your experiences back then led you to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I probably wouldn't have gone that route if I didn't see how big of an issue it is for immigrant families living in a bad neighborhood and then being in the military. Like, stress after stress after stress, you know?
Yeah. No, so do you feel like this is like your haven time where you're finally like out of all the crazy stress and now you're finally pursuing your career? What are you doing now with your career?
Yeah, so I'm currently a therapist now. I work with first responders, and I love my job. I mean, dude, our first responders see a lot of crazy stuff. You know, in Asheville, we have a lot of people who are in substance use actively. We have a lot of homeless, so they see a lot of death. They see crazy car accidents in the highway, like I-26.
Yeah.
So
wow. And you're a big dude, so like, listen, I've seen Michael work out. This guy is no joke. I'll come in. He's like, yeah, I did like 10 miles on the bike yesterday, today. You know, then I decided to lift, 10,000 pounds over my head. Now I'm going to go talk to some dudes about their mental health. Talk to me about the first responders. How do they operate with the mental health thing and the counselor thing?
So if I'm being honest, most of them do not want to be open and they don't want to get help. It's only at their lowest point in their life, they're going through a divorce or during the hurricane, like some of their family members died. They allow this piling up of experiences and trauma, and it's not till their lowest point do they want help. So then when they finally come see me, they were like in horrible shape. They're not in like ready to go. They don't do it for preventative measure. They do it because their life sucks.
Wow. And you're like, listen, guy, we got to do this one way or another. So you told me, I remember we were having a conversation the other day. You work with them like almost shoulder to shoulder. Do you feel like men, when they're trying to express their feelings and express how they feel about their mental health, right? Do you feel like they will operate when they're doing something together? Do you feel like they have an ability to express their concerns more, or do you feel like it depends?
Yeah, it totally depends, because it depends on the brotherhood too and who they're around.
Right.
Like some of them do care about mental health, but they also care about their pride.
Yeah.
And that's really is what hurts you, is because you don't want to be seen as weak around your brothers and sisters.
Right.
You want to be seen as this like, dude, yeah, I've saved this guy from the freaking building, you know?
Yeah.
You know, this building was on fire and I like carried 2 guys on my shoulder.
And I did it.
You know?
I don't need no therapy.
Right. Or like a cop, you know, like I was dealing with this. Like no one wants to look weak, and that hurts them so much.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, listen, I don't even want to talk about my feelings half the time. I'm you know, and that came about when I was like married to my wife. You know what I'm saying? We got married, and like I had a very, very strong emotional IQ, you know, growing up, and I've always had it, been very, you know, I had an ability to look within myself and be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. But then I got married, and I'm like, well, I have to be the macho man. I have to be the man who doesn't get affected by circumstances. And my wife can tell you right away. She's like, honey, you need to talk about something because you are angry. Now, in my experience, I express my frustration, my sadness, and my like depression in anger. I don't necessarily say I'm sad. You know, do you find that men operate that way?
That is very normal. Most men are taught to express their emotions through anger and nothing else, versus women are taught to have like different kinds of emotions, and that helps them. So even though women have like higher mental health disorders overall, they have lower suicide rates because they can express themselves. But we're not taught to express ourselves, and that hurts us. And that gives us the reason why men have so much more suicides than women.
Wow, that makes sense because wow, that's interesting. Now, how should a man express himself? Is it different from the woman when it comes to mental health?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like the main difference is we don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So then how can we express it in different ways? And that's kind of where physical fitness comes from. And slowly building rapport. So for me, it's like, can I do a walk and talk with them? You know, Can we do an informal counseling where I'm just getting to know you? Right. I'm building this rapport with you. I'm building your friendship. I do a lot with this with our first responders. It's like, I just want to be your friend. Seriously, we don't need to talk about your feelings. Like, let me get to know you and your hobbies. And so we have to break this wall down.
Yes.
In order for us to start talking about it. But I think like an easy way to do it is probably just some type of walking, some type of exercise, or activities where you can express yourselves, whether it's like writing, poetry, going on a hike, different ways where you can just release those emotions.
Wow, that is so interesting.
So I think we're more physical.
We are. I would believe that. You know, women are more, you know, verbal, and that's it. But men are more physical. That's exact. I totally get it. I know after a good workout, I know I can talk better, right? First off, I can just speak better. I won't say former veteran, you know. I will say current veteran. I'm just handing that home. But yeah, I feel more alive. I feel like there's endorphins. So talk to me about mental health and physical fitness. How are they connected?
Yeah, so let's talk about the physical fitness part first, and then I'll get into and how that connects into mental health. When you feel good, like you treat your body right, you are exercising, you know, that's improving your brain health already. And you're going to feel better. So when you exercise, you're going to have more energy. That energy is going to be used to doing the things you love, the activities you need to do. And that helps you get away from depression, because depression is low energy. You don't want to do anything, right?
Right.
And so keeping up your physical fitness, feeding your body premium gases, like, you know, what I like to call it, like whole foods, less processed, you know, that's going to help out a lot, because you're just going to feel better overall throughout the day. It's going to stabilize your mood. If you eat junk and you don't exercise, dude, your mental health is going to be it's going to be worse, right? It's going to be exacerbated.
Right. It's going to be way worse. That makes, listen, I know all about that. So that's so cool how it's all tied together, you know, and I talk to people all the time, and it's almost like the personal trainer in me says it subconsciously. Hey, listen, you know, I want you to feel better. When you work out, I want you to feel better. That's the first thing I want you to feel. You're going to have a great workout. Then we're going to start changing our diet, and you're going to notice you start to feel better. What are you looking for when it comes to, do you analyze a person's physical fitness before you go into a therapy session?
No, I actually don't. So the first thing I really analyze is the body language and then what they want to talk to me about.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The physical fitness aspect usually comes later, after I build rapport.
Gotcha.
Because no one wants me to just tell them you need to go on walks more and you need to hit the gym. No one wants to hear that the first thing coming out of my mouth. Yeah. You know, that I would send them your way, right?
Right, that's my job.
I actually wanted to jump into the other side, which is the mental health to physical. So they kind of flip, right?
Yeah.
So the mental health portion is, you ever have a day where you're just not feeling so hot, something happened, and you hit the gym and it totally sucks?
Yes.
See, that's the other aspect too. They're totally connected. If you aren't right mentally and you're overthinking and something happened to you and you're just having like a rough day, like inside your head, not actually. And you could eat good all you want. You could have been a bodybuilder, an athlete. It doesn't matter. Your workout's going to suck and your day's going to suck because your mind's not right.
Wow. Okay. So this makes total sense. All right. I feel crazy because every time I'm getting people talking to me, and I will tell them, I'm like, when I got something going on in my head and like I'm having a bad day or something happened at work, yo, my workouts are terrible. Okay. So there's something to that. Wow.
Absolutely.
So I can't just sometimes I just can't go work out and it won't change everything. I got to solve the actual problem itself.
Yes, it's almost like a waste of time if you work out, right? Like you don't even feel like it's good. In fact, it probably makes you angry. This workout sucked.
Yes, it does. I'm just like, this is horrible.
So how is that beneficial, right?
Right?
So you need to solve the actual current problem, you know, in your head before you start enjoying the activities you like. Because if you're just in a bad headspace, it doesn't matter even if it's not working out. If it's like, I like the color, you're not going to enjoy doing it because you're in the wrong headspace. So you need to solve that first, like you were saying, before moving on to things you actually enjoy or things you need to do.
Right. That makes total sense. Like you can't, and I'm the kind of personality that does that. If there's something going on in my head, right, I need to solve that problem right away. I can't just have it lingering. I can't, blank it out. I have to go and actually take care of that. So mental health and fitness, you need to get the mental health right before you jump into the physical fitness, but they almost work synergetically together. Wow.
Yes.
Is that a big part of your practice, combining the two together?
I try to. I think I mainly lean into the mental. And if I feel like I've built enough connection with the other person, I want to start bringing that in. Like, why don't you try going to hike? What kind of like exercise or activities do you like to do? And I just pray that they have interest in physical fitness.
Right.
If not, I try to be like, why don't you try going for a walk? So I try to implement it as much as I can, but it ends up being your traditional talking usually. Right.
Now, do you find that, now you talk a lot about this, when you're going on a walk with them outside in the sunlight, do you feel that that has a more of a bigger impact whether they would be walking inside, per se?
Yeah, there's something in nature. There's plenty of studies about it where if you are walking mindfully with sunlight in nature, you prevent something called rumination, which is overthinking. You are in the moment more when you're outside. When you're inside, you see the same things over and over again, right? But when you're out in a hike or you're out in the woods or you're outside, you can pay attention to the trees, the plants. That helps you stay in the present moment so that you aren't so anxious, you aren't so depressed, you're out here having a good time, going on this walk. We're doing this walk and talk, and you're able to just tell me how you're feeling right now and not in the past. So it is amazing. There's a lot of benefits from doing a walk and talk outside specifically.
Wow. I think there is a book from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's called Be Useful: 6 Tools for Life, and he goes over like several different things you should be doing, and he goes over how so many people in history, Albert Einstein, Caesar, they all been documented going on walks to work their thoughts out, per se. So that's incredible. So talk to me more about getting sunlight in your eyes.
Yeah, so getting sunlight in your eyes, specifically in the morning, it's going to set your circadian rhythm. That's how your body sends signals to your body for it to set your day and be prepared. Mm-hmm. And so when you get morning sunlight, your mood's better, your energy level's higher, and you're going to be able to sleep better because your circadian rhythm is finally in its right, set.
Wow. Okay. Now I have a question about that because I don't know this. I heard, listen, when you're in the personal training field, you hear a bunch of different things. And I know sunlight's very important. So there's been like this talk about you have to get direct sunlight in the eyes. It can't be like through a window or like through, some other lens. It has to be direct when you step outside. Is that true?
That's mainly true.
Okay.
Because it's going to take a lot longer if you try to get it indirect. And it's not the same, like it's all artificial lighting and everything. Yeah. If you get it through a window, it's blocking a lot of the actual sunlight you need. So as much as you can, try to get it outside.
Now I heard like it raises your cortisol levels in like a good way.
Yeah, so it just essentially it increases your autonomic arousal.
Okay.
Which is part of your autonomic nervous system. Okay, without nerding out too much for some people.
Go nerd, please.
It raises your cortisol in a good way so that you are more in a heightened state, which gives you more energy. So cortisol is not bad, guys. There's a difference between good stress, bad stress, even like neutral stress, as I like to call it. This is probably good stress. It's going to get you going throughout the day.
Wow. And that honestly, that's kind of like estrogen. A lot of people are afraid of estrogen. They think, oh, I better not eat soy. Listen, eat soy. There's not enough estrogen in it to do anything. Mm-hmm. And I hate to break it to some people. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant right now. Estrogen, right, is actually anabolic in the presence of testosterone. You need both, okay? Thank you very much. I am so sorry. Anyway, that got me going on a thing on the cortisol thing because you're right. Like when you're working out, your cortisol is raising and you need that to build muscle.
Yeah, it spikes adrenaline, epinephrine. It's needed in order for you to lift this heavy weight.
Yes, exactly. So me and you talk about sunlight and you talk about how it sets your circadian rhythm. Talk to me about sleep now because we have conversations in the gym all the time. We talk about how in between us, lifting crazy weights, right? We'll stop and have a 10-minute conversation. I mean, a 30-second conversation about sleep or something like that. Why is sleep so important for the athlete, right? Or just for the person in general?
Yeah, so for the athlete, well, if you want to build muscle, you want to stay strong in that specific muscle you're trying to build as an athlete, if you can't recover, and that's through sleep, then you're not actually gaining anything. It all goes to waste. Wow. You can work out as hard as you can, but if you don't have enough rest, it's meaningless.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big. It goes into that whole hustle culture thing. I'm going to get 5 hours of sleep and not do anything at all. How do you feel about that, hustle culture?
Hustle culture, overrated.
Yeah.
Not good. Like, you need to learn how to take a break because that actually helps you bring in new innovative ideas, right?
Right.
If you're hustling and trying to make money, like you need to rest.
Right. You do need you need to rest. Now, like what type of rest? Because I know like we talk about all the time, like we're in the fitness space, we're in the mental health space. I enjoy a good cigar. I enjoy a good whiskey, once a month. And I have a bunch of people saying, "Oh, you're a health and fitness junkie. Why are you smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey?" Listen, Sharon, eating your hamburger from McDonald's, I don't want to hear it, okay? What are some of the benefits of that? Because I think a lot of my audience needs to hear, like, yeah, you can do these things. Or maybe I'm wrong. You tell me.
Yeah, so we have this mindset in just human society right now where we just need to ban everything, right? Like, oh, you can't have no alcohol, you can't have no tobacco, you can't have all these fun, like enjoyable things. That's completely wrong because there is a level of social connection that is so healing. Like me and you together, we smoke a cigar, we have a whiskey. we are bonding in different ways that is uplifting you, and you just feel better.
Right.
Yeah, there's not too much science. There's science about social connection, right? And we know that these two are bad, but I feel like it's offset even more than people think.
Right.
Like me and you, we're in great shape. We can have a glass of whiskey sometimes. We can have a cigar. It's called balance, and we still look great.
We still look great. We're killing it. That's right. That's right. We still look great. We're having a good time. We're in health. But I would argue the same thing with you. I would argue that my health is so much better. There was a study, I think they did a study, 100-year study or something like that, where they took people and they said, what was the main thing for longevity? I had a really cool guy on my podcast, and it was Ed Cardinal. And he talked all about how relationships were the main cause of longevity. And I would argue that me sitting down having a cigar with my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, and we sit and we're just men and we're talking about manly things and we're talking about life, I really feel like that extends your lifespan.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I mean, human connection is so important. If you ever look into people that are in isolation or solitary confinement, or like for some reason they were like madmen and decided to like run away from the rest of the world, most of them have the most mental health issues, and a lot of them kill themselves.
Wow.
So we're social creatures. We desire that. And so if it takes a cigar to be social, that's not going to kill you.
Right.
In fact, it might make you live longer, because you can have those deep conversations that are completely healing. It lets you relax. Like, it's hard to fully like actually relax, right?
Right.
To truly do it, you know? Especially if you're someone who likes to work, who's an entrepreneur, who wants to get stuff done. Like, you find it hard to actually relax. Those are some of the moments where you are your most relaxed. And I bet you after that conversation or that whiskey, you hit the gym the next day, that's probably your best lifts. Maybe the biggest PRs you've had in a while.
No, yes, I feel good. I'm not stressed out. I'm happy. I'm the happiest when I'm hanging out with my girl. I am the happiest when I'm working out. Things like that. And that's the biggest thing. You know, I'm enjoying my life. I feel like life is so much more than just work. They said back then, like in the 1960s, it was shown, or even like further along the way, your luxury was measured by how much time you had to yourself. Now your status is measured by how much time you don't have. Sleeping 6 hours or 2 hours a day, working very hard. I can't live like that, man. I don't know about you. But really quick, I have a quick question for you. Speaking of which, and listen, I change topics like it's nobody's business. ADHD. We talk about this a lot. Tell me something about attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah, let me tell you something about it that a lot of people won't tell you. It's a superpower. We pathologize it a lot in modern day society, but if you look back into our roots when we were in a hunter-gatherer society, the people who had ADHD, where they could hyperfixate on the hunt, they could keep tracking that deer, that animal, that prey they were trying to eat, and they were vigilant. They could notice the subtle detail, the footprints. If there's predators coming, you had to be careful. You were the best in your tribe. And same with the women. If you had ADHD, you were able to find all the fruits, the vegetables. You were gathering all the right things and avoiding poisonous herbs and plants. And then we could keep going. Medieval times, you were a warrior. You can't overthink. You don't have time. You got to be there in the moment, hyperfixate. And when you have ADHD, you have a lot of energy, right? And so you keep going. Now we have desk jobs. We have all this. We've dampened it, and we've called it a disease when it was once a superpower.
Wow. That is the first time I have ever heard anybody say ADHD was a positive thing. I grew up, when I was going to school, I'm super dyslexic, by the way. I'm learning disabled. I have ADHD. They all know my story when it comes to that. But I always kind of felt like that was almost an advantage for me. Like, I really feel like I could go the extra mile. I really feel like I had these other talents. I had an ability to speak, even though I couldn't sit down and focus. I could create like we're doing now, you know, like these big open concepts. Talking to me about how ADHD is a superpower. How do you feel schools really just dampen the reality of what these things are.
Yeah, I mean, school and office work, they destroy people with ADHD. I mean, people with ADHD, like you weren't ever meant to sit on a desk. You were meant to go out, play, do sports. You're probably a great athlete. You're probably great at lifting. I mean, this is your job now, right? Like, we need to find ways in schools to, like, give them hands-on work. We took away a lot of, like, the woodcraft stuff and the mechanic shops. Like, we need to bring back things where you can be more hands-on for our ADHD people, because that's where the true work gets in for those people, is when they could be hands-on, they can move around a lot, they can actually not sit down. You know, they could stand and move around.
The biggest CEOs are learning disabled. They have ADHD. They were horrible at school. But I feel like it's a different space of thinking. Now, when I was in college, right, I was very bad at writing. I was very bad at reading. But my ability to present and speak was out of this world. So I was able to BS a lot. I was able to BS a lot, and it worked. It worked because I was charismatic. I could tell the teacher, hey, listen, this is going to be the greatest presentation you ever see in your life. And it wasn't, but it was great. For me, at least. And she thought it was fun. However, I really feel like that was a superpower that set me off the edge. You know what I'm saying? So for those people out there in my audience who have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, what would be some advice you would give them to almost help them harness it in a way?
Yeah, I would just try to reframe it. Like, don't think it as like a disease or disorder that's bad for you, you know? Like, see it as a superpower, you know? Like, take advantage of the traits that you know that you have of ADHD, like the hyperfixation, and put that into things that you love and like. Because when you can do that, your life's going to be so much better. Like, if you need to move around, do it. So, like, sometimes you might need to, like, tolerate your desk job because you make good money.
Yeah.
I get that. Go out and do a couple, like, walking laps around, because, I mean, it still makes you a good leader. So lean into the strengths, right? Like, you're able to be charismatic with ADHD like you are.
Mm-hmm.
Our best leaders have ADHD. You can be creative and innovative, right? And adaptable. So just start leaning more on your strengths and stop, like, looking into the weaknesses and why it's bad, because that's really what's holding you back, is this the thought process that you are lesser because you have it.
Right. I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I was on a job interview for occupational therapy, and it's just so cool that you're saying this, because I believed in my soul like this was the truth. You know what I'm saying? That where our disabilities are our abilities. And I tried explaining this to the job interviewer, and she's just looking at me like I have 10 heads. I feel like the DSM has completely, like, nailed into our brain that these disorders are a disorder, and they're not, like, what makes us unique. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course, listen, pros and cons to everything. But like you said, somebody who doesn't have ADHD, they will stop when they're hunting for someone. Someone with ADHD will be relentless. That will be their God. They will go there until a job's done.
Right. And let's put this into modern times, right? Our entrepreneurs, a normal person is going to fall back into their safe job. Nothing wrong with it. You know, work their 9 to 5, and that's fine for them because they could provide. Someone with ADHD is not finishing until the job's done.
Right.
I want to be this business. I want to be successful. I want to have all this money. And sometimes it's not that, right? I want to just do something I'm passionate about. They're going to go out and do it. Well, your normal person, and not all normal people, I should.
All normal people.
But a lot of them aren't going to take the risk. People with ADHD are more impulsive. They're going to take the risk.
Right. Right. You're right. They're going to take the risk. I see that in you. Like, you're, dude, Division I rugby player. Oh my gosh. Division I people. That's crazy. My wife was a Division II. And that's like, these are like the top athletes in the United States. Crazy. You need crazy dedication for that. You know, you're a veteran. That takes crazy dedication to stick through the job that you went through, where the suicide rates are out of control. The fact that you did it and you saw it through to the end, because I feel like people like me and you who both have ADHD, right? You have ADHD, right?
Yep, I do.
You should see our conversations in the gym. It's great. Funniest thing ever. That's why I can talk to Mike all day. It's great. I almost lost my train of thought. But yes, I did. There it goes. Oh my gosh, ADHD! Yay! My point being, and this wasn't my point, but I'm making a new point: mastering your psychology, right? Mastering who you are for the athlete, for the entrepreneur. How important is this?
Dude, this is huge. This is when it's going to set you up from being good to great. If you can't master your psychology, you are always going to be left behind compared to the GOATs. So I'll give an example that a lot of people might not know, but Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian of all time, arguably one of the best swimmers, has all these gold medals. He used to get butterflies before races. I still think he does, like while he was still active.
Right.
He get these butterflies. Everyone knows what that is. Like you're getting all this anxiety. You're kind of getting scared. You're like, am I going to do good? And he found a way to reframe his butterflies to being a superpower for him to win races. So instead of using the anxiety, because anxiety is actually energy. It's that cortisol, it's energy. People don't realize that, right? When you're anxious, you want to move around a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So he used that to help him win races. So instead of reframing as like, I'm scared, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose, I'm going to win.
Wow.
I'm going to crush it right now. And I'm going to use this energy. And instead of me being afraid, I'm going to use it to surge me forward.
Wow. That's crazy. So it didn't hold him back. Now, this brings up a question that I'm very curious about. A lot of people say that I think Henry Ford had this quote. I think you know where I'm going with this. Those who say they can and those who say they can't are both usually right. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's super true. I mean, that's as accurate as it gets. Like, if you don't have the belief that you can do this, then you won't. Right? You know, it's all mindset. It really is.
Wow, it is all mindset. And it's true. It is so true. And I think this generation of kids has so much self-doubt because I feel like there's so much information being set across. What is your opinion? I know this isn't in our notes, but I figured I'd just ask you. What is your opinion about noise and listening to millions of people on social media, listening to your mom, listening to your dad, and almost feeling like you are so constrained by everything? How do you feel about noise, and what are some things that we can do to get rid of it?
Yeah, it's just information overload, especially to the young brain. A lot of dopamine surges that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
TikTok,
bye in January. See you later.
But, I mean, including all media, right? And it sucks. That's a lot of noise. I lost my train of thought a little bit. Can you tell me the question again? I was going somewhere with that.
Yeah, I love it. So, honestly, if we rewind the question, I probably asked 4 questions in one. Like, my biggest thing is with the noise. It's like, why is noise so bad for the kid? Why is it so bad that these kids are hearing so many different voices telling them so many contradictory things? Why is that bad?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back to what I previously said is just too much dopamine, too much information that they can handle, because they're already trying to sense the world, right? And it's already a lot of information of learning about different people, their parents to their peers, and then you're adding in media, you're adding in all these extras that we didn't have before, and now look at what it's done. It's caused a lot of self-doubt, low self-esteem, a lot of lost kids.
Right. A lot of lost kids. Okay, so I love doing this on my show. This is one of my favorite things we do on the show. We do a case study, okay? So we're going to take a guy, we're going to call him Bob, right? Bob, we're going to call him Bobby because he's a kid, right? Bobby is a 16-year-old kid. He is in high school. What is something that Bobby can do right now? Because he's at a crossroads. You know, he is going at a point where he is either going to go to college, he's about to change his life, right? He's becoming a man, so to speak. What are some actionable steps, right, that Bobby can do for his mental health and his physical fitness to maximize his life and get the most out of life starting at 16?
Okay, if you're starting at 16, probably the best thing you can do is join some type of sports or club. You need to learn how to socialize with others, and you need to learn how to get along with other people. And you need to have some type of competitive spirit So that way, when you get out to the real world, which is a dog-eat-dog world currently, you need to be able to stick out. And so being able to connect with others, right? You need to connect with an interviewer for a job, right? That's going to kind of give you that extra edge. Mm-hmm. So get into some type of sports, get into clubs if sports is not your thing,
right,
and then find ways to get walks in. If I'm Bobby, like, this is the easiest. This is like the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Get your walks in, set your circadian rhythm, you know.
That's right.
In the morning light. I love throwing that in there, and just find out what you love. You know, this is the time for you to search for what you want to do, and like take that, like, go out, see different clubs, like learn different things, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So it's just simple. Now, how do you feel about them going to the gym and like starting to like do workouts like that?
I think it's awesome, but do your research, talk to a coach, at least have one or two maybe like personal training sessions, because a lot of them, they come out there and they really don't know what they're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the fact that you are just in the gym. Mm-hmm. Don't ego lift. That is another thing I want to say too. Okay. If you're 16, I know you guys have a lot of pride and a lot of energy. It doesn't make you more alpha just because you can lift a lot of heavy weights.
Right. It's very true. You don't need to do that. I see that. It's like a disease. I had that disease growing up. I still do sometimes. Yeah, it's like in our nature. We want to lift as much. But as I'm getting older, I'm kind of just like, I don't think I should do that. My joint health isn't going to be that. So what does the future look like for the Hopeful Therapist, and where is your trajectory from now?
Yeah, so the future for the Hopeful Therapist is, I mean, I'm hoping to just grow and just give out information and reels that can help day-to-day people, whether you're an athlete, a normal person, or an entrepreneur. Like, I just want to give out information for free, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there in the world about mental health and physical fitness, and I just want to be the guy that can give you the right things you need to better your life.
So I just want to personally say thank you, because I've learned a ton from just talking to you, right, and just having these conversations, and I get very curious, and I say, well, what do you think about this? Because you're so unique in the fact that you combine mental health and fitness together, and you show the connections between the two, and an athlete like me can relate to that. So when I'm on your Instagram and I'm scrolling and I'm looking at your reels, I'm like, I'm always learning something new. So I'm going to link all your stuff down below. He is Hopeful Therapist on Instagram. Is there any other place where people can find you?
No, that's it for now. But trust me, I'll be growing. And when I finally fully start like my official business, right now, I want to keep working with my first responders. I love them. But at some point, you know, I'm going to go out and have my own independent business. So I'll be growing. So just keep a lookout.
Keep a lookout. We're going to have the Hopeful Therapist. Is there any final words that you want to add about mental health, ADHD, anything for our audience?
Yeah, don't see like your mental health disorders as a weakness or anything like that. Like, look into your strengths, because we all have something we're gifted with, and just make sure like you look, like, give yourself a big reflection and think about like, what am I good at, and lean into that. Like, ignore the noise, ignore the haters, like focus on yourself and your inner strengths.
I loved every bit of this. I enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fantastic. We can't hit the boom mic. So
yeah, thanks for having me. Seriously.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks so much. Guys, if you like more videos like this, if you like these sit-down conversations, you guys know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and you guys know the deal. Live lean and stay happy.